Oh, and joining us live now with more on the upcoming election is political pollster John Wright. Always appreciate your time, John. When it comes to the polls, I mean, this has just been absolutely stunning to watch over the last couple months, how a 26-point lead from the Conservatives has now pretty much a dead heat. What's your take on things?
Well, it's quite an amazing thing when you think about it, Jamie. Back in January, we were sitting at a point where the Liberals were actually down to about 18% in the polls, and the Conservatives were up to almost 45%. What a remarkable turnaround that's been for the Liberals. There were about 30% of the public in this country who were willing to give the Liberals a second look if, in fact, Justin Trudeau went. That has happened. Plus, when you combine it with the collapse of the NDP, the threats from Donald Trump on the tariffs, that's given a rise in the polls to the Liberals. They've rebirthed. So right now, the latest polls are showing a range of between, around 40 to 42% for the Liberals, between 37 and 40% for the Conservatives. That's a lot of momentum. My guess is that, the Carney campaign folks will want to go to a campaign that has the shortest amount of time in it in order for them to benefit coming off of the leadership race.
People who are undecided and the demographics of those people, who are they?
Well, there'll be 10% who are normally undecided. That's the case right now. They tend to be people who are not that engaged in the process. What's been interesting for me in this is not necessarily those people who are where they are and undecided, but the people who have moved over to the Conservatives, over to the Liberals. You see a difference here where women are now boomers and women and young people who were in that age between about 25 and 35 are moving in that direction. That wasn't the case before. You actually had boomers over on the conservative side. So there's a movement in the demographics as well. It's not just, the 65-year-olds who go out and vote for Conservatives. There are usually a lot of people on the domestic agenda, particularly when it's hard to make ends meet and they want to own a home and things like that. What's galvanized the movement in this is just the two characters who are quite different. I mean, Pierre Poilievre is seen in one direction, Mark Carney is seen in another direction, and Donald Trump's approach to tariffs and his daily taunts of Canada, that's changed the whole dynamic so much in the last 30 days.
When it comes to the next several weeks, I mean, how much can we see the pendulum shift, given the messaging? Obviously, you've got on one side the Conservatives who were, their main policy was axe the tax. Well, that's pretty much been taken by the Liberals right now. But you have to assume that they're going to want to focus on a lot of the other issues. Meanwhile, the Liberals are going to focus on basically saying that we're the ones to lead us through this existential threat. How much of a change do you think we could see in the next couple of weeks when it comes to those poll numbers?
Jamie, this is the 11th federal campaign that I've been either an observer to or polling on. And the only one I come close to thinking about is 1988, when it was about free trade. It was Brian Mulroney, in fact, campaigned for that. And there was even a commercial where they rubbed out that center line between Canada and the United States, just like the one that's being used now. At that time, we were basically having that debate within ourselves. We weren't having it where the president of the United States was dictating the terms to us. And certainly we are going to get tariffs very shortly that are affecting the bottom line of our country. I don't know which way this is going to go. I can't think that this is going to devolve into an issue of looking at transfer payments or health care or housing or things like that. This is really to try and deal with the anxiety of a country that by the midst of this campaign, we will be into the tariffs that will come. And I think that is going to determine, in the last 2 weeks of this campaign, the character of the two individuals. And let's not forget, Mark Carney's not tested in the political arena, whereas, Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives certainly are. I can't think of a more volatile, precarious, and more important election that we're going to see. And I wouldn't even hazard a guess right now as to what the outcome may be.
And just lastly, how important is a debate between these two candidates going to be in terms of helping people decide who they want to vote for?
In a normal campaign, you'd say probably close to 70% of people have already made up their mind by the time they have that debate. I would say this time, not only will the debate be important, but it'll be important what Donald Trump says 24 hours or even 24 minutes before the polls open. So we've got two contingencies there to think about: what happens in that debate and then what happens in the final days of the campaign. So it'll be a real toss-up, I think.
Well, the president just weighed in yesterday, and he said that he would, quote, rather deal with a liberal than a conservative. You have to wonder what that means. Does he want to work with the liberals because they might be easier and he can get what he wants, or he doesn't want to work with the conservatives because they might actually have to put up a fight?
Well, we've always been second guessing Donald Trump. I mean, we all thought that the tariffs were a means to an end to negotiate a better deal, when in fact tariffs may be, what he wants to do. What he said yesterday, I don't know whether that was Kevin O'Leary, Canadian Kevin O'Leary, who has access to the president, who actually was, said you should say this in order to give Poilievre a chance to have more opportunity. Who knows? The reality is, I just demonstrated to you, it's three-dimensional chess with this president, and I'm not even sure whether, we've got a game on the table or it's outside the door. So we'll see what happens.
Or if we're playing checkers, who knows? John Wright.
Could well be.
We'll see. We appreciate your time as always, John. Thank you.